This is Teachable Moments with April podcast, and you guessed it, I'm your host, April. If you're a returning listener and a part of the Teachable Moments with April podcast family, welcome back. For those of you who are checking me out for the first time, well, hello and welcome. To everyone listening, look for the teachable moments that are all around you. Enjoy. This episode is pre-recorded. Good morning, Miss Mary. How are you?
I'm doing fine this morning, April. How about yourself?
I'm good. What would you like to talk about today?
I want to talk about something I have been looking for the last, I would say 6 months, or if not longer. And it behooves me. I only looked in my area, which is not a large variety, but I've been looking for something called salt pork.
Oh, okay.
That was very prevalent in the black community. But I've looked in store after store. Now I found they have this big chunk of fat, and with a little lean down the middle. And it charges you $5 for one meal. I guess you could mix greens, beans, or whatever you want to think. And they say it's so unhealthy for you. My question is now, I like to watch cooking shows.
Okay.
And the shows that I watch, they got pork bellies, salt pork, bacon galore. Well, but these are Asian shows that I'm watching. So, is it being shipped to Asia? Is it grown in Asia? They have, when I was raised up in the South, the start of winter was harvesting of the meat and so forth. And that's where you got all of your different parts of meat. Okay. And it was stored over the winter, so it'll last you till I guess the spring, you would say.
Okay.
But once they harvest all the meat from the pork and so forth, where do the salt pork go? Because you can find all the ham. I see bacon is still there. I was in the store shopping around Thanksgiving, and they had galores of chitlins, which I want no parts of. But because that take you 2 days to clean them thing, and it takes you another 6 months to get the odor out of your house. Yeah. In the South, they could cook it because of the fact you out there with the trees and everything else. The air takes it right out, but our buildings are cemented together, look like, and there's no air going through here. You're gonna have to get a lot of Febreze. So I just wanted to ask the question: am I the only person from the South that is wondering what happened to the salt pork in our area? And I thank you, April, for having me on to ask this question.
It's been a while, and Miss Mary is a very busy woman, and she does a variety of things. We've already talked about that. That's just who she is. So I guess she wanted to talk about some things, and I wanted her to be on here, and we didn't realize that was the case. So when I suggested something to her a little while ago, she was actually ready to come on. So I was surprised that she actually has some topics that she wants to exactly talk about. So I thank you for being on here. Maybe at another time, maybe I can talk Miss Mary into telling. She's a great storyteller. Meaning, I have my own personal favorites, but these are personal stories from our family and different things. There's a story that she has that is involving chitlins, and I don't know, was it a slow cooker or a crock pot? I think it was a slow cooker, right? that she shared with me not too long ago. So I have my favorites, and I love hearing the same. I mean, it just tickles me. But this one was something more recent, within the past months, and it involves chitlins and a slow cooker. And maybe I can coax her into just making a whole episode of that particular story, because I do want us to cover some of the other things, and maybe she can think about if she wants to share that story or not. They'll give her time. What do you think, Miss Mary? Another time?
I don't think I'll have a problem with that, because I thought it was one of my things. There's so many of the stories of the South. People don't have them anymore, but since I was raised by my grandparents and I was around my dad and my aunt, it was hilarious. And two of my aunt and my uncle, they were closer to my age. I think my aunt Doll, she was like 14 years older than me, but we were like buddies as we was growing up. But the older ones, there's stories to tell. If I decide to tell it,
right.
but I don't think a few of them I don't see would be a issue with me telling.
Okay, so that's a possibility. I also want to share, if Miss Mary doesn't mind, it's just in general that just got me thinking, me asking her that by her talking about chitlins, and it kind of triggering me to think. She also likes to look, listen, in this case, there's various people, you can find anything online, but on YouTube where they tell stories, like story time, meaning more like from certain regions, whether it be the Appalachian mountains or hill people, and she likes different types of stories, and I actually like them too when I've come and sat with her and listened. They're very interesting, and as we know, earlier cultures and so forth and so on, before they started writing things down, a lot of times it was just oral history. They would tell stories about to pass down your cultures and things that they did and customs and stuff like that. So I actually enjoy that, even though I'm from the city, and my mother is more so the person that's from the country, the South or whatever. But
way down south,
way down
Smokey
south.
the Bear was the mailman. Okay, that's how
she's a country girl at heart, even though she's often would tell me stories of when she was younger and she wanted to get out, which I think is very common of people who are from the country. Not all of them, but the city, big lights, big city, and then they come to the city and they want to get out. You want to get out of what you know. That's just part of, I guess, growing up too. You want to get out of what you know and explore and see other places and be around other people. But I think in the end, it ends.
But it's not what you think it is. It's nothing.
Is.
It was nothing like I thought it would be, or when the people would come back that left and came back, and they gave us all this bunch of lies of their lifestyle that they were living. They went in debt and got all these beautiful clothes and these cars, and they came back and they was living high on the hall. You would think like they were on Fifth Avenue or something, but when you get here and you find out you got to work hard to get out of the ghetto, and work hard I did. So no, it ain't everything it be, but I think it was my path that I would wound up here, because I always longed to come to the big city.
So I guess the question, the bottom line for that particular topic is, what happened to the salt pork? I've actually gone with Miss Mary to various grocery stores here in where we live, and actually looking specifically, we would get other things, but look, and nothing even remotely resembling salt pork, which is very interesting. Why certain foods, I don't know,
just disappeared.
Yeah, that's odd. Now, Miss Mary, do you want to talk about something else, another topic on your list?
Yeah, I want to talk about every bill I have and so forth. As you know, I'm from another generation, April is the technical one, and in the technology phase, my children are technical. My son could do anything with anything technical. You know, if you'd ask him to get a book read, it was so hard for him to do. It was very difficult to do. But anything else to do with technology, he could turn it inside out. Me, I'm not too into technology, although I had to use computers and different things of that nature on my job. But I was so glad when I retired, so I don't have to use it anymore. And I think I kind of set up a prejudiced attitude against it. But now I'm coming back around. There are some things that are very good about technology. You just have to be careful. With me, I have to be careful. And I'm trying to graduate up to it. Now, that being said, I do not understand how my creditors, I'll put them for instance, they want to go paperless. Everything with me, when I get an email, is paperless. We can't give you that because you haven't set up an account for paperless. But when the postman comes, he brings me all of this junk that I don't know anything about. And they supposed to be preserving the trees. So are they trying to feed the tree so that people can use it for junk mail? I'm a little lost here now. And when you get your bill now, when they send me a bill, they have all this extra paper in there. Why can't you cut it down a little bit then? You know, if you're trying to preserve the environment and save the trees and stuff. Where do all this junk mail come? Where do these people get all this information about me to send it to me? I don't even know these people that's sending me all this junk. I'm just curious. Maybe I'm singled out as the special person. But is there anyone else out there that's going through this here? I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but just putting it out there. And thank you.
Okay, so that's a very good question. They often say about going paperless, so forth and so on. But then that leads into something else, which is the robocalls and telemarketers, market research, and whatever else that falls into that particular category. I have a question. I don't know if Miss Mary has the question as well.
Probably.
Has anyone else out there, I don't know where you're from, if you're from the United States, are you from another country? Do you guys in other countries, I'm curious now that I said it, do you guys get robocalls in your country? Because I've seen a dramatic increase in robocalls. It's like, if you've listened to the podcast and you've listened to specifically the interviews with Miss Mary, we've talked about our issues with our local carrier for our phone.
Oh, yeah.
And Miss Mary, we had this elaborate, which everything is so over the top now, and so to me I feel unnecessary because I try to deal from a place of logic and so forth. So everything is all these extra steps when it could just be very, very simple. So then we had this whole drama with the phone. We got the landline back, the actual number after we were told it was dead. It was decommissioned.
After we had to pay a fortune for it.
That's another story. Them charging, as one of my co-workers would say, up the yin yang. That was one of her catchphrases. Go ahead, Miss Mary.
And when I wanted my caller ID on there, I had to pay for just the telephone number to be revealed on there. No name of the company, name of the person.
Very weird.
Okay, I have this unified, what it is?
Messaging
thing. But it hasn't kicked in yet, and that's been about 2 months. But I'm still paying for it. So I must make a decision after paying it up paying a fortune to get this straightened out. I just was very unhappy that I didn't have my number anymore. But it seemed like they can do whatever they want to, because April was nice enough to file numerous of complaints about how they handled the situation.
Right.
But they gave me my number back, but they charged me a fortune. And now my bill is twice as much as usually runs me, with not any, with half the service I had before. I put it that way. But me, I asked for it. I don't blame other people for my mistakes. So therefore, I'm going to continue through December. And I don't know when I have other things, so many things on my plate I have to get done. I get back to them and decide. Because as we talked about before, I've been had that telephone number since my children were small. And it's going to be like losing an old friend. But I can't just let them rob me so I can have this number.
Right.
You know. So therefore, I have to make a judgment decision, which I can when I get some of the other things off of my plate. But like I said, since I don't even know whether they give out your number or what, or sell it or not, because since we were going through this thing with them for I think about 2 or 3 months, I've been going through that. And all of a sudden, once I got it back up, it's the funny thing. I get back up, Mary. When I was trying to get the issue settled, I had all these Middle Eastern people that I was talking to, but I never, or Asian. I don't think I only got about 1 or 2 Americans. And I'm not prejudiced or anything, but I do have a problem with my ears. English was way off. They would call at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I had to, or 7, I'm saying. And I worked it as a part-time job in telemarketing. We had a certain hour we had to start. We started calling in the morning, and we had a certain hour at night or in the evening. You had to stop calling people's houses. But these people, I'm wondering, were they connected with AT&T? Because then I started getting calls early in the morning before I was out of bed about nothing. Sometimes they call, they just hold the phone, they won't say anything.
Very strange.
Yeah. And then the ones I talked to were either, they seemed like AIs, or they weren't, their English was not very good. And when I would ask them the question about whatever story they told me they was calling about, they would hang up. Or they would just go quiet, and I would tell them, have a nice day, and hang up. But it's something going on there that I can't quite comprehend. That's why I'm going to wait at least this month out of December before I make a decision about what I'm going to do about the telephone and so forth. And I'm going to have to adjust to using a cell phone for my main telephone, because April was very nice enough to go out and purchase me a cell phone for emergency when I'm traveling, because anything can happen, and she was right. And I found that from using it, since I had such a hard time with AT&T and my landline, I started using the cell phone more, and I began to adjust to it. It's not one of my favorite tools, but each day I found it a little bit easier to adjust to. And I like one thing about it is because recently my landline would be ringing, and I'm on the cell phone, or I'm on the landline, and the cell phone is ringing, and ringing is enough to drive you batty. So, but the point I'm trying to make is with the cell phone, you can always turn it off.
Yeah, you can with that. So me and Miss Mary we came up with this theory, like what Miss Mary is talking about, is that the thing with the phone, with the actual landline through AT&T, and at some point in our communications with AT&T, we gave out Miss Mary's cell phone number, that the one that is just specifically up until that point, just to carry with her. Exactly. If she gets into to get help exactly. Or anything with certain numbers already programmed in there or whatever, so you can just, it's something that's important. I think we all can relate to that. But once we did that at some point, because they asked for an alternate number, which was the cell phone, and we gave her the cell phone number so normally, because it was not a phone that she actively used, she just had it in her purse or whatever, we'd make sure it charged, pay as you go. Once at that point that we gave that to them and started to communicate with the technicians and the people from AT&T in their efforts or not their efforts to fix what was going on with our landline, something occurred or happened. So with it, it didn't happen right away, but as soon as they somehow gave her back this number that for the landline, we noticed that this is what makes us think that I realized that, just bear with me, the choppiness of my message, but people selling people's information.
Exactly.
So there'll be times now where the actual landline phone is ringing and her cell phone is ringing too, synonymously, and then it's like flooded. Her cell phone and the home phone is ringing off the hooks with these unusual, and I think it's just very strange calls of people, maybe AI, for a variety of things. I mean, Miss Mary has done her best to explain to me the whole Medicare situation and the never-ending calls over and over, because it's supposed to be open enrollment. Now, they start at 8 something in the morning, and they may go to 8 at night, although recently it has extended past 8. And it's going more toward 9. The enrollment is finished, is what Miss Mary was telling me, but we're still getting these phone calls. So this was making me, and maybe I'm wrong to say that the AT&T and other companies themselves, they're buying people's information, or selling it, buying and selling it, and you get this never-ending flood of the phone is ringing and ringing. It reminds me of that when I was at work and we had issues with the phone itself, and someone's husband and someone that worked for him, they had a company, her husband had a company, they were trying to fix the phone, and I believe they had AT&T too, but I guess they decided, now I'm thinking about it, they should have told me something, but and the phone, they kept calling the number through their cell, and it rang so much that I actually, when I was leaving work, I could still hear the phone, even though logically I knew I was on the street, there was no phone there. So it's just like here, you keep hearing the phone ringing and ringing and ringing, and you have, even when you say hello, they're not saying anything. It's as if someone's still on the phone, but they're not saying anything. It's just this endless flood. So it makes me, I joke with Miss Mary and I say, is it some kind of psychological warfare? People calling people's homes. Does anyone else have this problem where they're calling over and over? I mean, like, it is like a never ending. And they claim when people do talk, it's about Medicare, it's about health care. They want to help you, they want to help you, they want to help you, want to help you. And Miss Mary will pick up the phone. I'm the type of person, I'm not a phone person. She'll pick up, she'll say their name when they introduce themselves. And as soon as she says, how can I help you? Because they've called to help, something happens to some of these people. They become quiet and they're just like dead to rights. They don't say anything else, or they'll just hang up on her. And I'm just like, okay, well, you called to help, allegedly. I'm not buying it, and Miss Mary's not either. Why are you hanging up for? What is the reason why you're calling? And there was a very interesting one, and we may or may not have addressed this before. It was a particular gentleman that called, and Miss Mary ended up putting him on speaker, and he called or whatever, and she started to ask him questions which he didn't like. Now he's calling and asking her questions, and then she says, well, if that's the case, you know all these things, then yada yada yada. So then I don't know, did she ask him what did he know? That was the next question out of the other questions. And then he literally told her all these things. I know this about you, I know that about you. It's this long list. So then she says, so why are you calling? If you have all that information, then what is the point? I don't think that's a rational question. So what is the reason for this call? Somehow you've been given all this information, and it was pretty personal, but he was upset.
Sure was.
He was upset. So he's calling someone's home, not to say people can't have their own business, and he knew a lot. This is personal. So if this information was bought and given to him, but yet what is the point of the calls? If you have this information, what is the point of the calls? What is the point? It seems like you have everything you need.
You couldn't tell me.
Now, I was telling Miss Mary that I was watching this show called Redacted. It's on YouTube, and it's a husband and wife, and they have other people on there, and they mentioned it along with some other things, and they were saying how big it's even more big business now, the buying and selling of people's information. They didn't say, I'm lost. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand this. If you're buying and selling the information, and they said it's in an attempt to learn more about the person, I just don't get the reason of the calling. So if you know that, you know where they live, you know this, you know their phone number, you know their name, you know their social security number, so why are you calling? Why are you calling?
And why are they allowed to call people or get this type of information? They say our government is working with us, and they have this confidentiality with every place you go. It seems like all your information is in bathroom walls. Anyone that wants it can go and get it. There's no such thing as confidentiality.
So what are they doing with it?
That I don't know. I'm still working on that.
And then this compulsion to call the person. And then what? To hear their voice? I don't get it.
Well, I don't know myself, but a friend of mine says that she does not answer unless she recognizes the number. She doesn't answer the phone at all because she was told that they already have your information. They need you to say yes. Okay. And then they adapt it to some type of way of taking advantage of it.
Okay, so they're like a recording of your voice and they're using it for whatever.
Yeah, and you or whatever like they was trying to write with a scam. I don't know. She said all they need to hear you say yes, and then they can move in and take whatever they want to because they have your voice saying yes. But she said they become very, she said, frightful if you say no and downright angry with you. So I make a point of never saying yes. But I am curious. Is why I used to didn't bother to answer. But now, since the AT&T thing, I'm trying to find out, could I get a breakdown on how or why are you doing the things that you're doing? Okay. Because when I was working in telemarketing, I was working trying to sell something to the person I was calling. And I'm sure they would have let me go if I keep calling people's houses, and I never got any results because they are definitely not going to get any results from me that I'm aware of because nothing is yes. Because anything they are selling, people don't call you to give you things. People call you to get things from you. They're not. I am seeing no one giving out anything. And if they give you something, it's a string on it so long, it's all the way back to Madison Street. And you're going to wind up in a lot of mess from someone giving you something. And I do see people seem like they really think that they got a deal. Nope. They got something free. Nope. They got over on someone. No. That is not the issue. You know. But I really don't understand it at all. But since I'm retired, I do have the time to try and figure it out, because there's a lot of senior citizens like myself out there might not understand why these people calling them. And I have Sherlock Holmes, which I call April. She's going to check out everything from A to Z. And I have to put the pillow over my head, because she's going to tell me about every detail she found that I didn't even think of doing. But she is my little genius, as everybody calls her. But they don't get past neither one of us. And especially her. I will give up and go somewhere and do something else, but she will not. She will not. That's why I keep going out getting more electronic things, so she'll have something else to go there and think. And the joke's on me, because she's going to come right back past me and let me know all about it. But that's a blessing. That is a blessing. I'm very blessed. I have two friends that says how lonely they are. Well, I always think I'm the most blessed woman in the world, but I have to say, I'm not even in the category of being lonely. I don't have time to be lonely. It's a wonderful life. Although April don't like that movie.
I hate that movie.
But
sorry,
it's
guys.
a wonderful life.
I hate that movie.
My life is wonderful.
And they show it all the time. Around this time, holidays.
Well, they got them on now. I might put it on today. I can run all over the house, because she won't stop around here if she sees a wonderful life.
And Mary Poppins. I'm sorry. If y'all love Mary Poppins and It's a Wonderful Life,
it's
and the sound
good.
of music and all
that's
that crap.
negative. You should be positive.
I don't like it. I can't stand it. I can't stand the movies. I can't stand them.
Well, at least you don't sit through it then.
No.
And you don't like it. But yeah, this confidentiality thing, robocall.
It's not so confidential,
It's nothing confidential. Nothing. It's all out there on the airways. I would totally, I'm no way I'm getting on no podcast talking about my life, business, or nothing else. But as I watch different things and YouTube and so forth, everyone's life is an open book. They just like anything you want to know. I'm in the store walking around. People walk up to me and start telling me all these things. I'm looking like, okay, I think that's a little bit on the personal side. But being a Christian, I listen and I give them my best advice. I wish I had opened up my company, opened up an office as a psychologist.
It's never too late.
Well, I'm thinking about it, open up, and that way they can come in.
You could be a counselor or a therapist or something.
They have vacant buildings up there on North Avenue. I'm thinking about opening up one and have people to come in, and for a nominal fee, I'm not going to be outlandish, and have them to come in and tell me about what's going on with it.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Miss Mary?
No, I'm blessed that you let me tell this part. And I hope I can see you soon.
All right.
And have a good day.
You too. You were just listening to Teachable Moments with April podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. We invite you to stay connected with us on our other social media platforms such as TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. Also, check us out on our official podcast landing page on podpage.com/teachablemoments with April to see all our content in one place.
You can leave messages and give feedback and more.